Hey, everybody, my name is Jake Milstein. Joining me is security expert John Lubeck. We both work at Critical Insight, and somebody sent you this video because it's Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and they think you should learn about password safety, not because you've done anything wrong, but because we all need a refresher on password safety. And frankly, the advice has changed. So, John Luke, you work with all sorts of businesses and all sorts of people in healthcare and manufacturing and government all over the place. What do people need to know about password safety?
First and foremost, use a password manager. If you're in a business environment, especially if you're in IT or finance or HR and you've got access to sensitive information, it's really important to keep all your passwords stored securely. Now, in business environments as well, it's important to make sure that you're using a tool which has been reviewed and approved by your employer. So, something which IT and the information security and the legal departments have all taken a look at and said, yep, this is a good tool. We've done our due diligence research. We can move forward with this one. Those are the best ways to store passwords for a business environment. On the personal side, you've still got access to the same type of software, the password managers that are out there for subscription services. Those are really good to use as well. Just got to make sure you do your research and due diligence into picking a good vendor there, making sure that they've got good responsiveness, they've got good support, and of course that the pricing is in your budget.
Well, so how do you, if I'm going to go out and choose one, how do I choose one? I mean, there's dash lane, one pass, last pass, on and on and on. How to, and oh, and by the way, also like my phone saves passwords and Google Chrome saves passwords, and I think Firefox save passwords. Like, so how do I choose one?
So we tend to not recommend the browser password managers because when you're browsing the web, you're potentially exposing yourself to risky websites or advertisements that are up to no good. And if the browser's got access to your passwords as well, there's a little bit of risk there. So we tend to recommend using a different product outside of your browser. As you're taking a look at what options there are, it's important to understand your requirements. Do you have a small team who just needs to be able to share a few accounts? Do you have a large team who needs to be able to share lots of accounts or only certain accounts and others need to manage others individually? They've all got different features available and different prices to go along with that. So making sure you know your requirements going into it is really important. Then doing a little bit of go ahead.
And what if I'm an individual? What if my organization doesn't have one and I'm just choosing one for me and my family? How do you pick one?
There, I would be looking primarily at pricing and features and compatibility. So, with people who are using their passwords all over the place, you want to make sure that they can get to them from their phones, from their laptops, maybe even from a computer that they don't own in an emergency situation. And so, making sure that the program, whatever you end up going with, has got easy access through all of those methods is going to be really important.
Cool. Got it. And, whenever we talk about password managers, people say, wait a minute, if I put all my passwords in that one place and the bad guys get to that one place and they break into the company, aren't they getting all my passwords?
It's always a risk. What we've seen is that most of the major software manufacturers, the password developers out there, the password manager developers out there, have done a decent job of separating your password data from their normal business data. And so, if they, as a business, get hacked or attacked, an employee clicks on the wrong phishing link, that doesn't mean that they're going to immediately have access to all your password data. Some even go so far as to make sure that whatever they store is encrypted in a way that they can't even see it, that only you and your client, you and your trusted people are able to see the passwords. Those folks are doing things very well, and you can usually see that in things like what we would call a SOC 2 report or other third party attestation, like an ISO 27000 certificate saying, here's the programs and the practices we've got in place. You can trust us with your security.
And so what if I'm like, no, I'm not going to use those. I'm going to choose my own passwords. And I know my password needs to be more than 6 characters. So I'm going to look out the window and I'm going to say, sunny day in Seattle is my password. Does that work? Or like, I'm looking at my seltzer water here and it says sodium free, caffeine free, or I make that my password. Like how do I choose my own?
So those are pretty good because they're a series of words. Where that might not be so great is because they're a series of words that you might see put together somewhere, like talking about a sunny day in Seattle. That's a somewhat common phrase. Maybe more rainy day in Seattle, but that's not here or there. On the seltzer can, for example, those are absolutely words that you would see put together quite regularly. And so those are going to be common in what we would call a dictionary attack, where the hackers or the attackers have just got a big list of passwords and phrases and common modifications, common changes, and they're just throwing those passwords around all day long. When we use a password generator, like the ones which come in the password management software we tend to use, they're going to be able to generate complicated passwords, complex passwords, which are very difficult to guess, certainly for a person to guess, but even more difficult for a computer to guess in the way that it's going to require years of time to be able to go through and finally get to there. So people aren't real good at coming up with random stuff on their own. Typically, when you try and come up with a password or a number or a date or a word, it's coming from something that you know, something that you're familiar with or you were thinking of at the time. But when you just pick out some random stuff from around the room, the water bottle, television, stapler, lamp kind of thing, those are words that aren't going to run together in a sentence, and so it's going to be much more challenging for a hacker to crack.
Why do you have a stapler in your house? Why are you printing things? I do not understand. Anyway, don't answer that. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining us. Now you know John Luke Peck still uses a stapler, even though he's been working from home for more than a year. It's sort of weird, but we'll leave that alone. Thanks for watching this. If you have questions or if you have thoughts or if you have other suggestions, email me, jake@criticalinsight.com. Look forward to hearing from you. It's jake@criticalinsight.com. And have a great day. And if you're in Seattle, I'll bet it's not sunny.